Rent Goblin is Glassdoor, but for rental apartments. So if you are looking for a rental apartment, you can type in the address on our website and see authentic reviews from previous renters who lived at the building. You can see where there are mold issues, where there are pest issues, how's the communication with the property manager. I believe that you deserve to know what you're investing in, right? Like that's a huge part of your income, and they're allowed to ask for your references. And so you should have a way to know what previous tenants have thought. Like in a way, I don't even think of this as a tech startup. I don't think of it as a tech product. I think of it as a community product. Because it was born from community reviews. It doesn't exist unless people leave reviews. It's kind of like this community platform. There's this common saying, you know, if you build it, they will come. And I think the new internet, it's very much ask people what they want and then build it for them. And that's, you know, having the information asymmetry that you spoke about. That's the amazing thing about the internet is you can see what communities are asking for. I would say that I do feel a little bit better about giving Anthropic access to my computer compared to ChatGPT because I know they're a bit more cautious and careful about what they're doing with the data and how they're gathering data. And so I like ChatGPT because, for example, when I'm too lazy to Google something, it's just snatching information from the internet for me. So ChatGPT is my better form of Google, and Claude is my in-house coding team.
What vibe coding did is it let a lot of people go from 0 to 5 really, really fast. And then from going to 5 to 6 and 6 to 7 to get to that perfect 10 eventually, it takes an exponential amount of effort to like tweak, iterate, and keep doing stuff. Because like I'm in pursuit of that wow factor, but you've managed to get that wow factor using vibe coding. So could you walk us through like a little bit of that back and forth? Like what did you need to learn that you did not know in order to get to this final product we see today?
Sometimes I find that like the brain power of Claude Code is a bit limited. So this is what I want to do next with my personal website. I'm like, oh, I want to incorporate like a fun little basic game people can play whenever they go to my website. Can you please write out the instructions that would be in order so that I can just copy paste this into my terminal for Claude Code, and then it does it. Maybe that doesn't make sense. Like, I don't know if that's the best way to do that, but I do it because then it gives me easy instructions to just paste into my terminal and it can't mess it up.
Hello, and welcome back to Is This a New Internet with Marv. Today I have my first ever guest from the west coast of Canada. Calling in today all the way from BC is Emily Manzer, my first ever Gen Z guest who can probably give you a new perspective on how this internet little thing is unfolding. So without any further ado, Emily Manzer.
Thank you so much for having me on.
Thanks so much for joining me, Emily. Would you mind telling the folks at home a little bit about yourself? Because I saw your presence on Twitter and I saw you were posting about this incredible idea of yours called Rent Goblin. And this is using our internet tools to speak to a very pressing need for a lot of people in society today. We're going to have a lot of time to get into that. For now, let's give the folks at home the 101 of Emily Manzer.
So I actually grew up in Alberta in Canada and in very rural areas. But post-grad, I moved, well, post like high school grad, I went to university at the University of British Columbia, Okanagan campus. So that's in Kelowna in the BC interior. And I actually studied biochemistry there. Then when I eventually moved to Vancouver post-grad, there was a bit of a blip in there. I was like an au pair for a while in France. I worked in a lab during COVID in Vancouver, but eventually I started on my actual career path that is working in marketing. I started in B2B marketing in Vancouver, and the first full-time role in marketing I had was for a recruiting as a service. All of their customers were tech. Some were Web3 customers, some were Web2, just regular tech. And yeah, so that was kind of my start. And I learned a lot over the years working not just in traditional tech, but then eventually like moving more into Web3. And so Web3 is just so community centric that now with the new product I'm building, it taught me a lot about building community and developing product with your community.
Amazing. I'd like to touch on the Europe part because I spent 4 years in Europe as an undergraduate, and I was in Spain, and I felt it really reshaped a lot of how I see the world, how I see community, business. Like I was in a business school, but I was studying communications and marketing. So I got to straddle both those worlds, on a daily basis. And coming from India, going to Europe and like just seeing a completely different understanding of community, of how communities are built, how politics unfolds, and like being away from home and being an outsider. There was so much that I felt really let me know about who I am. So, do you have any of these self discovery journeys from your time in Europe? What do you think, looking back now, did you learn that you really lean on in terms of habits and understandings?
Growing up in North America, we have this culture of creating your own world, creating success for yourself. You can do anything you want to. There's the American dream. And basically, the ideology is this concept of you create your own environment. You can put yourself into a better situation. You can create a better life for you and your family. But spending time in Europe, it was interesting because it kind of showed me that there is really a different side to it, which is your environment also shapes who you are, which sounds obvious, but I think in North America, we're very focused on you create your environment, you create your life. Whereas in Europe, it's formed already. And it's kind of like I'd be sitting in this beautiful courtyard thinking, wow, like they really figured it out. like, like this is so beautiful. I was in Madrid sitting in this beautiful courtyard thinking, this is so relaxing. And it's in the middle of the city. It's beautiful. And I just realized how much the environment shaped my mood and my behavior. It made walking more enjoyable when it's beautiful. So that's personally what it showed me. I don't know what did you think? What did it teach you?
Yeah, I grew up in Mumbai, and it's like an incredibly busy city, like 18 to 20 million people in the city. And it's not like what you said about a walkable city. Like y- Europe opened my eyes to wow, urban spaces could be like so intentional and beautiful and energizing. Like you use exactly the right word. Like, and like living in Toronto, I get to experience that as well. I know North America is often receives a bit of flack for not having very walkably designed cities, but I think both of us live in two of the most walkable cities that this continent might have to offer, right? Because India was very car centric, and like being out and walking about, like, of course, being a student without my own car, that obviously played into it in a very big way. But then the way we can interact with that was really, really, it was deep. There were chance encounters that one would otherwise not particularly tend to have. Have you found that that has been your experience as well?
Yeah, definitely. Vancouver is quite walkable. So I've definitely enjoyed living here compared to the rural environments I grew up in, like very small towns where growing up you had to be driven places. I had to be driven back and forth from my first jobs. I think the difference, I mean, a lot of differences, but just to simplify, there is a huge difference in depending where you are in the city. There's just beauty around every corner in a place like Madrid. There's such an emphasis on like aesthetic beauty when you're just in the design of the city, and it's clearly a value, and it shapes how you feel when you walk around. I would put more effort into my outfit or more effort into how I presented my own food on my plate. Right? It's just like this. The environment definitely shapes you.
Nice. And did you start working when you were in, because you mentioned being an au pair, but did your forays into tech, did it start then? Or could you walk us through that journey a little bit?
When I was in France first, post grad, that was as an au pair with the mission to learn French. So my full-time thing was au pair. Like you can't work a normal job when you do that. You're in a certain environment where you're doing a culture exchange essentially. So that was my whole focus. And then after I finished that, I came home. And then when I did move to Vancouver, in 2020, when COVID had kind of died down a little bit, that's when I was working in a COVID lab. I think I was there for a year and a half. And at that point, that's when I was brought on at the my first full-time marketing role. Yeah, just kind of I was doing freelance work when I was in the lab. I really didn't want to be in a lab. I knew from when I was in third year of university, I was like, I find biochemistry really interesting. I knew that I needed a very challenging subject to keep me engaged for 4 years, so I found it challenging, really interesting, but the lab work was not for me. It's not for me, and I knew that from 3rd year, so I was kind of pivoting out of it from 3rd year of university. So I was working on the school paper, I was working on Enactus, which is like a social entrepreneurship club, and so, I was trying to pivot out of it slowly. So when I started in the lab, I was doing freelance social media marketing and, freelance copywriting outside of that job.
What you said about doing something hard, I think marketing is hard, but in its own way entirely. Like, do you have any observations on like the different challenges between what the demands were then and the demands you're facing now?
You know, I think at first, marketing on its own was kind of scratching that itch because I was self-taught. And so I was putting in a lot of time, teaching myself, reading books and reading blogs and watching YouTube videos. Like it's always a little bit challenging, right? Like there's always a challenge because things are changing every year. But to be honest, that's kind of why I've been launching my own project because what really interests me is not just marketing as an end to itself, but using those skills to now that I generally understand community management, I've learned copywriting. I've done so many different marketing roles at startups that like I have a real range of experience where now I'm very interested in launching some of my own projects and using those skills, launch a bigger project. So I keep challenging myself, even if it's not currently, for example, like Rent Goblin doesn't make any money right now, but I'm like, it's such a great way for me to learn how to actually launch a product off the ground. Like I find that incredibly interesting and challenging.
So this whole idea that you have learning by doing, just getting your hands dirty, I think that speaks to a lot of how my experience on the early internet and even today is because like, I had LimeWire, stumble upon. Like my time on the internet was very much about exploring, seeing what's there, finding new information. And now with like it's like a different internet today, right? Like with vibe coding and stuff, even if you're non-technical, you can do stuff for yourself. And I really want to get into your process of this. But first, let's start with our origin stories on the internet. I grew up with dial-up, those shrill sounds of like connecting to the internet, and then we transitioned into like broadband. But for me, for the longest time, the internet was like a place in my house. It was a PC in the corner of a specific room where if I wanted to access the internet, it was there. Like mobile phones as a device for living online kind of became a thing when I was in college. So could you tell me a little bit about how you think this immense familiarity with these tools from day one, basically, of being online has sort of shaped your idea of how you want to build Red Goblin, how you want to establish yourself online and sort of navigate the internet?
So the way that my relationship with the internet started was a physical place in the house where we had a computer, not a computer room, but we had a desk and a computer, and we were allowed. I have two siblings, so you'd be kind of vying for your slot. I think I was allowed half an hour a day. We had very strict limits because your parents were being told how bad it was for your brain, which is probably true. But you had a lot less time on the internet in those days. Like having an hour, I think on the weekends, max, we were allowed an hour. And so it started that way. The first time that I had a read write experience with the internet was when I was 12, when people started getting Facebook accounts. And I got my first Facebook account. I wasn't allowed to have a cell phone until I think I was 16. So even though they were out before then, I got lucky because I grew up in a small town. Like, and I say lucky because I think a lot of people in a bigger city would have been pressured to have one younger. And I got to not have one until I was older. And so I didn't have one until I was about 16. But again, my friends didn't really have them. So it wasn't like I was really missing out socially. So it was still on the computer. And from Facebook, you could already see how it was impacting the social world. It was interesting. You started to see the ripple effect of now someone made this funny Facebook page and everyone's referencing the joke. And now, this boy who has a crush on you in class messages you on Facebook like he wouldn't have had the whatever to come up and talk to you because you're 12, but now he can talk to you on Facebook. So it was already seeing like the trickle into real life for the first time with the first form of social media I had. Um, I never had MSN or anything like that. Tumblr was my first experience where it was almost its own world because I think I was 14 or so when I used Tumblr and I didn't I didn't socially interact with any friends on Tumblr, but it was my first in this small rural town in Alberta my first connection to kind of culture, not just books and movies. I grew up loving books, but it was like of the moment culture. What was the That's where I learned about The Weekend. That's where I learned about Lana Del Rey. And I was like in a cultural moment that was taking place in Toronto and in LA. And like I would never have known about it if I had been born 10 years earlier. So that was kind of the first seeing how the internet was really starting to impact culture and music and art at that point in my teens. And so slowly over the years, it feels now like the internet is actually the primary place, which is it's a bit weird to be honest, but it feels like, wow, I spend more time, my professional connections are on the internet. My friendships, I spend more time connecting with my friends probably online than I would seeing them in person because we don't live close to each other all the time. And so it's a bit unnerving to think that now the internet is the real place and offline is the bonus. It's a bit weird.
Yeah, I completely agree because, yeah, I'm lucky that I moved to a city where I already had two of my closest friends in the world here. But like, we're all so busy. It's like we're connecting way
Yeah.
more online, way more in our
Hmm.
Instagram group chat than like actually in person. Like, we try to make it a point to meet, but yeah, life gets in the way. And I think internet provides sort of connective tissue that we'd otherwise not have with these really important people in our lives. So yeah, like I'd like to talk about your philosophy of Rent Goblin because I think it's a really important part of our conversation going forward because it speaks to a real need that people have. And you are someone living in a city known for being extremely volatile in the rent market. So could you tell me a little bit about, what you saw and what you experienced that sort of led to you thinking that, hey, this is an idea that needs to exist?
Yeah, absolutely. So essentially, Rent Goblin is Glassdoor, but for rental apartments. So if you are looking for a rental apartment, you can type in the address on our website and see authentic reviews from previous renters who lived at the building. You can see where there are mold issues, where there are pest issues, how is the communication with the property manager. And it's really just coming from a perspective of we believe that, well, we being me, but also the community that's why I say we, because I built it for a community that asked for it. You are probably investing at a minimum 25% of your gross income into your housing. If you're renting, it's a rental. I believe that you deserve to know what you're investing in, right? Like that's a huge part of your income and they're allowed to ask for your references. And so you should have a way to know what previous tenants have thought. And that's all this is. And I came up with the idea because essentially I started posting apartment walkthrough videos on TikTok because I was touring some different apartments. I'd come back to Vancouver and I've been kind of looking for my next place. I've been subletting, so I'm looking for my next permanent place. And I was posting them. I'd see people leaving these comments with all this information on what it was like living there, and it was usually pretty bad. Because some of these buildings I was looking at were like beautiful, but they were older heritage buildings. And so people would be telling me terrible mold issues, the property manager's crazy, this and that. And like I would say if it was a one off, I wouldn't necessarily believe it. I'd probably continue looking at the spot. But I would get 10 comments of previous tenants because, over the period of the past 15 years or 20 years, you could have had many tenants, especially if there's fast turnover. So it was kind of shocking. And I saw some people on a few videos went viral, and there was some comments of people saying, like, we really need a place to, like, I wish there was a website like this. And I looked at the competition, like the competitor websites, because there are some websites like that, but they don't really harness social media in this way. So that's where the idea came from.
I've seen so many posts on Reddit about the landlord special where they just painted over like bugs that are stuck on the wall and stuff like
Yeah.
that. So obviously that's an extreme case, but it's really good that you're crowdsourcing this sort of information. And information asymmetry. That is something that I think the internet did a lot for me, like in the sense that I could get a more complete idea about experiences from people out of my circle. So, how do you think this is directly meeting these needs of, making sure that the people know exactly what's happening? What would be the process of someone actually finding out this information or even contributing to this information on Rent Goblin?
I mean, right now it's pretty simple. I have some ideas for the future, but currently it's just a basic website, rentgoblin.com. I got the .com.
Woo!
And they go, yeah, they go on there and you just type in the address you're hoping to find. And if it comes up, then there's a review, and you can see multiple reviews if there's been multiple. And yeah, everything's kind of, they can check off boxes when they're filling out reviews of like mold and pest issues, like common issues. So there's a standardized format for some of the issues, but otherwise there's also a space for a review. Currently, the stage we're at is I really need to get more reviews on the site because I live in Vancouver. So through my social media, most reviews have been coming through Vancouver. So I need more reviews for other cities. But I think that's just going to be a matter of, like, maybe I shouldn't fight it and I should just keep going really hard on Vancouver rentals, and then eventually it'll just keep expanding is my hope, because I can accept reviews from anywhere, but it's just more of a matter of like through these algorithms, they're pushing me more towards Vancouver people at the moment.
Yeah, and I think the delivery is like if you're there, if you get like a really good critical mass of reviews, it'll just spill out on its own, right? If people see the value that is
Yeah.
driving there, who knows? Maybe like a Vancouver-based Zoran Momdani can see this and like add like rental improvements as part of their policies. Who knows? But yeah, I think this is an amazing idea, and this is the reason why I wanted to get in touch with you, because the new internet, I think, needs to come back into reality, right? We're doing so many things online. Like I'm in the crypto space and we're building value on top of value on top of value. Then it comes a point where we like ask ourselves, like, is this based in reality anymore? But what you're doing is using
Yeah.
technology, using an idea to really focus stuff on the lived experience. And what you mentioned about community, I think, is so important because, again, like in my industry, community just seems to be a buzzword, but this is actually participants who are sharing experiences that improve other people's experiences. So, community based building. You mentioned that this is something that was motivating you here, and crypto taught you stuff about what to do and what not to do. So, could you tell us a little bit about that thesis? Uh, where is this exactly played in, and how are you seeing these effects being implemented right now in what you're building?
There's this common saying, if you build it, they will come. And I think the new internet, it's very much ask people what they want and then build it for them. And that's, having the information asymmetry that you spoke about. That's the amazing thing about the internet is you can see what communities are asking for. There's been a common piece of advice told online for a while now, has been, if you want to start a business, go into Reddit and look up these communities and see what are their problems, and then offer to, create something that solves it, and then basically sell it to them. And so I'm not selling anything at the moment, but it's just like that's kind of the advice I took, but on TikTok, because I saw people wanted this product. I saw the problem and the spot where there was asymmetry. And so the product comes from the community. More of what I learned from crypto was how to engage, how to be hyper responsive to your community, how to answer every single comment if you can, and speak to them every single day, and the importance of that. But as you know, in some communities in crypto, there is definitely this financial incentive that makes the community not always just there for the sake of community. Sometimes they're interacting because they're invested in a coin. So, I
Mhm.
mean, if it's a little bit more complicated. So,
Yeah.
definitely learned a lot from that. But yeah, so it's my stance.
At this time of the market cycle, everyone loves saying the real gains are the friends you made along the way. And we know that
That's
that isn't necessarily as true in the bull markets. But yeah,
that's funny.
uh, you mentioned in our chat so far that you like learning by doing. And this Reddit insight that you brought to the table, I think it put a lot of rich data and a need right in front of you. But I think going from identifying this need to building a product like what you've done, I think the secret sauce in the middle is vibe coding. So could you give the folks at home a little bit of a 101 on vibe coding and how you brought your idea to life?
Absolutely. So I was a little bit overwhelmed at first because even though I have been using Claude for a while, I also use ChatGPT. Like I kind of have switched between the two loyalty wise, depending on what I needed to do more of. Because there was a long time where, for me at least, ChatGPT was a lot better at working with data. So there's been different times I've moved between both, but I had never built something with it. So I mean, this all changed in the span of since like 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago. You can learn these tools really quick. But I basically am using Claude Code to build the websites that I've been building. So you download like a package into your computer. Um, you essentially connect it to your terminal in your computer. Um, don't really know what that means, but you have a terminal app on your desktop. And now Claude is in there. Now I can say hi and I can speak to it in natural language and it codes for me. So again, don't know how it did that, but it's in there. It's in my terminal now. So I know there's also Claude Cowork. I really want to try that next, but I haven't used it. I'm also a little bit more scared to use it because I'm scared of it deleting files, but I think I need to play with that next. But I use Claude Code for this.
So that's the absolute healthy level of skepticism you should be having with these, I think, because you're someone who's
Yeah.
accepting that you do not know how to code yourself. So
Yeah.
giving this thing unfettered access is
I know.
not the best.
I don't want to have access to everything. I've been seeing people post the Claude bot stuff and it's like answering their texts for them and it's getting all messed up. I'm like, okay, I'm not doing that. Like that's stupid. I would definitely use a burner or something.
Like the head of safety, super intelligence
I
at
saw
Meta,
this. That's crazy.
like
Gave
of
it
all the
access
people
to
to be
all of
making
her
these mistakes.
computer. I was lolling at that. Like, that was really funny. I was also like, she's a real one to be posting that on her main account. Like, I mean, okay, that's at least it's transparent, you know?
Radical transparency. Is there a win to be had in this case? Debatable.
Entertaining, at least.
For sure, for sure. So you mentioned that you have websites, not just a website. So could you tell us about the other one too?
Yeah, I mean, this is my personal website. I've been meaning to put up a personal website for years. I've bought my own domain before. It's just emilymanzer.com. But I would get to like these website builders and I was like, of all the things on my plate, I don't want to drag and drop boxes and then be like trying to figure out exactly. I think honestly, also part of what I was struggling with for a long time was that I didn't feel like I could encapsulate my career or like what I was doing in a website. I was always doing a lot of writing. I was always like making short form video or YouTube videos outside of work. And I was like, is this website for my creative projects? Is this website for work? And it's like trying to get marketing clients. And I was just like, I don't know, this feels like I'm too young to make this decision. Like I was like, I don't know what this website should be because I feel like when you're young and you're figuring out what you're doing, it would change. Like my job would change all the time. I'd be given a different contract, a different opportunity. There'd be layoffs, there'd be layoffs, there'd be layoffs. Like I've been working in tech, so it's just like it felt like I couldn't clearly, succinctly say what I was doing. Maybe that's a me problem, but having this Claude Code made it so that I came up with a much more fun concept, which is like a little old school looking video game style website. And it has like little pop up boxes and it shows my creative projects. It's just a one page thing and it's so cute. I was inspired by someone on Twitter who posted hers. I don't know her name, but she posted like it was a video game inspired personal website. And I was like, wait, I can do this. And it was so fast and it's so fun. Like I had a lot of fun building it actually. So I was saying online the other day, I was like, I'm having more fun online than I have in years.
Amazing. So like it's really you've been shipping this stuff really fast. Because like from like
Yeah.
the conception of the idea to a live website, it's barely been a few days. And like I checked it out and it really gives a lot of those, GeoCities, what used to be called GeoCities now is a NeoCities movement, which is definitely like a throwback to how the internet used to be. And I think that, yeah, it's amazing that AI can bridge these ideas that we have. And like like ideas guy is going to be like a key
Yeah.
role going forward, and like you're really showing like what the ideas guy gal can actually do effectively with the right tools at their disposal. So speaking of the tools, what's making you choose Claude right now, and if you're going to shift to something else, what would it do that Claude isn't doing for you right now?
I honestly had given up my Claude membership for a while because again, I was using ChatGPT for data and like data analysis, and it just did it a lot better. I don't know if that's fixed, but when I was like for the past like 2 years, it was just doing it a lot better. But then I honestly switched to Claude. I didn't even switch. I pay for both. I only have the pro tier on both, so it's like $24 each or something. So okay, sue me. But to me, it's worth it. It's like to me, it's worth it. And I just feel like I can't give up my ChatGPT subscription because it knows everything about me. I know I could fully shift over to Claude, but I kind of like both. I know that doesn't make sense. Whatever. It's just this is my journey.
No. It
So
makes
yeah.
perfect sense because, like,
Yeah, it's like they're distinctly different. And for Claude, for me, Claude, I only shifted there because I was like, I need to build this website. Like, let me get Claude. Like, let me pull on Claude. Like when ChatGPT puts out, well, you know what I would also say? I would say that I do feel a little bit better about giving Anthropic access to my computer compared to ChatGPT, because I know they have more of they're a bit more cautious and careful about what they're doing with the data and how they're gathering data. And so I like ChatGPT because, for example, when I'm too lazy to Google something, it's just snatching information from the internet for me. And Claude will not do that. It will not search the internet for you. And so there's actually distinctly different use cases. It's like how ethical, or do I want to be? I don't even know if that's the right word, but it's like I want something safe versus I want something that's like a better form of Google. So ChatGPT is my better form of Google, and Claude is my in-house coding team.
So what you said
Yeah.
about all this makes perfect sense. As someone who also has different LLMs for different tools, I think you need your stack. But I want to touch on the ChatGPT knows you really well and it makes it easier. And I think I'm trying to move away from some of these tools. So I set up a Quen local instance on my device. And I think I've just been spoiled by how good Claude is to me. And despite me fighting with Claude every day about outputs, like this history and this context that Claude has, translating all of that into Quen
Hmm.
to start again, that's how they get you, right? That's how they ensure that
Yeah.
you're going to keep coming back. And I do want to eventually have things on a local instance, but also the output speed is so slow for your tokens. So like you're going to be sitting there for a little bit. Like you really need to drink a lot more coffee, like, and have an excuse to go to the coffee machine and back while it outputs the same stuff that you otherwise maybe had in a fraction of the time. So they've got me. They've got me for now. For now. When I
Wait.
get like,
Back up though. So
okay.
why are you shifting to a local instance? What does that mean? Is that just like hosted on your computer?
So there's a software called LM Studio that you can download
Oh,
onto your device. And this gives you a selection of a whole bunch of local models, open source models. Like the Chinese are raising the bar with this stuff, like open
oh.
source contributions in AI. Like Claude recently complained about how they were the victims of a distillation attack, where like a whole bunch of these open source guys are asking them a bunch of questions to understand how Claude thinks and then taking those outputs and putting that into their own service.
That's funny. That's funny.
So Claude got upset because despite them having trained everything on that, they're upset that
Yeah, it's
people are
like
doing the same thing to them.
that's
But
funny.
like, yeah, but the thing is, like, do I want to give them all of my thought trains for them to train all of their future stuff, you know? And I think maybe sometimes it's good to do the slightly difficult thing and run this on my own. Yes, it'll use a lot more power. Yes, my poor MacBook Air will be screaming because it's processing so much. But this stuff is mine, right? These are my thoughts. And maybe with all the stuff I'm giving Claude and Claude not being able to capture my voice, maybe a local instance that's only trained on my voice might do this better. This is a hypothesis that I'm trying to test. But unfortunately, there's a lot of donkey work to test this hypothesis, and that involves training it from the ground up with
Mm.
everything I've ever written and everything I will write and continue to write. So yeah, this is a work in progress, but maybe it's something that'll be of value. And honestly, you won't know until you
Maybe.
try.
You know what? You can do it. I'll watch from a distance. I'm totally focused on speed. So you you just I'm gonna be, you go test this hypothesis and we will all benefit from your research. So
I
you're
hope
fighting the
so.
good
I hope
fight.
so.
Yes.
hey, this is what a Substack is for, right? Like you share your
Yeah,
journey.
exactly.
I want to circle back on the website chat because I think vibe coding a website, I have had fairly limited value from it purely because I am a picky individual. And I think what vibe coding did is it let a lot of people go from 0 to 5 really, really fast. And then from going to 5 to 6 and 6 to 7 to get to that perfect 10 eventually, it takes an exponential amount of effort to like tweak, iterate, and keep doing stuff. And I found v0.dev, which is where I vibe coded earlier editions of my website. It couldn't live up to what I was doing, but you're using completely different tools like
Mm.
Claude and Claude Code. So I think I'd love to try doing that. But the frustration of using V0, I saw the limitations of V0, and then I just used Claude and Perplexity together to teach me how to use Framer. So I could make a website that has, like proper top-notch designers contributing templates to. Because like I'm in pursuit of that wow factor. But you've managed to get that wow factor using vibe coding. So could you walk us through like a little bit of that back and forth? Like what did you need to learn that you did not know in order to get to this final product that we see today?
I think the biggest learning curve was setting up. It's not even that complicated, but it's like you. Yes, it builds out the front end of the website in your terminal, but then you need to actually learn how to deploy your website. So I am using GitHub. I'd never used GitHub in my life. This is the thing. It's like you're for these people, like you're saying, from 0 to 5. We don't even know like basic HTML. That's me, and you don't need to anymore. Well, you should sort of, I think, whatever, but I don't. So it's like, oh, I have to set up a GitHub account. Okay, cool. I've heard of GitHub. I've never set that up. Okay, so I just set that up, and then now it's like, okay, now you need like I'm literally screenshotting 50 times like to properly launch it. Whereas if someone knew how to do this, they could do it in a second. But I'm like, wait, I have to find the index HTML file. I have to drag it into this. I have to hit deploy. Like there's like different. I had first tried it like deploying the site through not GitHub, but it was Netlify. And then I hit the token limit or whatever on Netlify in the free tier. And I was like, boy, I'm not paying anything for this website. Like I'm already paying for a domain, which is like $11, and I'm paying for Claude. And I've got all these LLMs running, like it's just gonna get more expensive for me. So I gotta cap out the amount I'm spending on this. So because also it's like the minimum burn rate because I don't have any income yet from it. It's hashtag pre-revenue, right? So I'm like, let's keep this as minimal as possible while I'm launching it and try and get some more reviews. So it was Git GitHub. It's not even that complicated, but for me, I was like, what? And then it was Supabase is my backend. So then I think the funniest thing to me, funny because when I looked at it, knowing anything about it later, I was like, that's actually really funny. Was like because it only knows as much as you tell it. But I had it build out this beautiful front end that had like you could leave reviews, and then when I was trying to launch it, it's like, well, you didn't build a backend for me at all, so actually no one can leave a review. And I was like, oh, can you build a backend? And they're like, yeah, you need to go on a Supabase. So I was like, oh. And so it was like, I didn't know what was involved. If you want to have people be able to save content on the site, I didn't even know, like, I didn't really know what that meant. So there's a lot of learning, but it's quick. It's just like slower than if you knew. But I'm having a lot of fun. I would say I actually tried Versal or like V0 or whatever a couple months ago, probably 6 months ago. And I was trying to launch my personal website. I got frustrated in the last 20% of the site and I abandoned it. So I understand what you mean. It was not perfect. Whereas this, I'm telling you, this, when I combine my Claude code plus my Claude, because whenever I really like, it's the same information, but sometimes I find that like the brain power of Claude Code is a bit limited. So sometimes if I have a question about like, hey, I need you to these are the tweaks I want to make to the site. I want to incorporate a game. So this is what I want to do next with my personal website. I'm like, oh, I want to incorporate like a fun little basic game people can play whenever they go to my website. Can you please write out the instructions that would be in order so that I can just copy paste this into my terminal for Claude Code? And then it does it. Maybe that doesn't make sense. Like, I don't know if that's the best way to do that, but I do it because then it gives me easy instructions to just paste into my terminal and it can't mess it up. So between that, you can, uh, it's very easy.
Nice. And I can see you get a genuine kick out of learning this stuff, right? And I think like successfully deploying it gives you that burst of energy to do it again. So have you reached a stage right now with your website that you're happy with it?
Yeah, I think like the basic website, my personal site is fine. I can add a game, but no one really cares. That would just be for me. Like I haven't really bothered to do that yet. I could have done it a week ago. I haven't. Then the Rent Goblin site, I'm happy with it. I think there's definitely this is the thing is like I'm trying to just like force myself to pause and just focus on getting reviews as is because I got my first 48 reviews on just a Google form, right? So like I was trying to just do the minimum viable form of the product before I launched the site. And I'm trying not to get too in the weeds on the appearance of the site and making it perfect. I think it functions fine. It works great. There's a next layer to the site that I want to build out that's more like a browser extension. So I want to build out that. I don't know how to do that, but I'm like that would make a lot of sense because if I'm browsing on Facebook Marketplace, I want to be able to have a Chrome extension similar to Pinterest where I pin um, a listing that I'm looking at and it can like save it onto my website and then it can cross reference any reviews on the site. That's, I think, a natural extension of what the product could do next. But I'm trying to force myself to just, okay, you know what? Just try and get more reviews on the site. So I think it's my background in like working for startups. I'm like, girl, you just gotta stop and like don't fidget too much. Like I would say I'm not a perfectionist at all, and that helps a lot because I'm thinking about like, okay, just put something out there. It functions. It looks fine. Just focus on the next step, which is proof of concept with more reviews.
That's great. You have a really like concrete set of next steps. Because that was going to kind of be my next question. Like, where do you think this is going to go next? And I think you really got, you know, your focus on the next objective. And I think that's super helpful in all this. Like as a solo founder, it's very easy to take on multiple tasks that may not move the needle as much, but it's really refreshing to see that focus. So how does this year look for Rent Goblin? Like, if what would a successful 2026 be in addition to the reviews that you're going to get? Do you have a number, like a target number for reviews that you think would be, you know, that critical mass where people start using this as a repo of getting feedback on these rental properties?
I think, you know, I, I want to say to be more scientific about it, I would probably have to look up exactly how many rental apartment buildings are in the city and then a percentage of that. You know, if we had like 80% of the buildings covered, I think I'd feel pretty good. I think just a broad number in my mind has been 1,000 because it's actually not that much in the scheme of things, considering that like 1,000 renters in this city is not that many people. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's actually like most people who are under the age of like 40 are renters here. You know, like the average age for a homeowner in some of these very expensive cities is like 40. So it's like, honestly, everyone should be able to contribute some sort of review, even if they lived there 10 years ago. So that I think that's kind of my number. I would love to create a stream of revenue for it as well, but I'm kind of holding off for now because again, I want to force myself not to get 10 steps ahead when I don't even have 100 reviews.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. So the tricky thing that, like you mentioned, build and they'll come is something that maybe is not as applicable today as it used to be. And distribution, making sure that you're putting a product in front of people is really important. So could you tell us a little bit about how you're going to try and find the people that you think are going to be getting those reviews? Because I see you have an active presence, Instagram and Twitter. How helpful has that been? And do you think that you need to probably knock on a few more doors and open up some more platform access on other channels to get to these numbers that you're looking at?
Yeah, I think I need to be active on Reddit. I have not been. Like, I just lurk on Reddit, like, whenever I have a very specific question, you know what I mean? Whenever I'm, like, searching up a very specific question, I know Reddit will have an answer, but I've never like, I think I need to go on there and be going into, like, our Vancouver housing. Like, I think I need to be actually actively getting reviews, whereas before, my funnel was, like, post an apartment walkthrough, um, with good lighting and a beautiful location and you get a lot of views on it on my TikTok account. And so slowly you'd get like a funnel and then they would see my other rental videos and then they'd eventually some of them might leave a review. But it's not active enough. Like I can't really like it's fine, but I think I need to be more active. So it's giving me some ideas actually, because I didn't even think about that. But yeah, I think that could be helpful too.
Awesome. Glad to help. I'm glad that we can, open up some thought trains here. We all hope that Rent Goblin is going to be a mainstay of success over here. And, like getting from where you are right now to where you think it'll be like something that can sustain you and something that it's its own entity. As a Canadian founder, you're inevitably going to be asked this question, right? Of, do you think you need to go to the US to pursue this idea and to scale it? Have you thought of this?
I think, I think with all these AI tools really cheapening the, the price of labor, tech labor, it is beneficial in this case, because I could get the product off the ground without hiring a professional for any of it. So in that, all that to say, I definitely think you could, now more than ever, you could stay in Canada, you could stay in your mother country and build your company from there. Especially being in North America still, like it's very easy as a Canadian content creator to get views from the States, which is huge. Like the US is such a huge market. And they're such trendsetters, honestly, that like it's huge to be in the same time zone and the same culture. Not the exact same, but we have very similar cultures to the US. So I don't think I would need to move there to be successful, because I think this is the era of bootstrapping. If you want to bootstrap, I think it's more viable than ever. Like I could work a minimum wage job and just like work on this and never raise if I wanted to. I'm considering raising so that I can continue working on it full time. But I'm also happy, if I, you know what I mean? Like if I find a job that I really enjoy and I can just work on this in my hours outside of it, I'm happy to just keep it going without funding. You know what I mean? So I think back in the era of when you kind of needed to raise funding to hire people, it was a little bit different, as a pre-revenue startup. So I think things have changed. I think for me personally, I think networking wise and meeting people and the energy of being in my 20s, I think it could be really beneficial for my personal life and career to spend a couple of years in the US. I know it's not popular to say that right now, but I think there's undeniable payoffs if you're an ambitious person in Canada to like spend even a year. But I'm content for now to be in Canada, and it's we have, with our Canadian visa, you can spend up to 6 months in the US not working. And so if I was there, filming some apartment walkthroughs and I was there for a couple months and subletted a place in New York or something, that's totally doable without fully moving there.
Is there something special about the BC startup energy and the Vancouver startup energy that you think is going to be especially helpful for you on your journey right now? Because something special in the air that you think means that this is where you want to see this succeed.
Well, it's kind of funny. Like, in a way, I don't even think of this as a tech startup. I don't think of it as a tech product. I think of it as a community product, because it was born from community reviews. It doesn't exist unless people leave reviews. It's kind of like this community platform. And so, like, it's volunteer based. People are leaving reviews from the, sense of community. And I think because as renters, it's kind of this, especially now the economy is going downhill. It's like everyone's kind of feeling like a sense of wanting to band together and wanting to look out for each other. And so I actually, it's kind of interesting. I'm not tapped into really the tech ecosystem here. I'm not tapped into the startup space here. I'm not tapped into any incubators at this point. I am considering going to, there's like a conference, like I'm considering having a booth, but I'm not sure yet. There's like a Vancouver startup, like a big conference. I think it's like the Web Summit or something. I might do that. I'm not sure, but I feel like it's so community based that I'm like, I almost feel like my advantage right now is I have no distractions. Like none of my friends work in tech. like, like I have no one telling me. Like I had someone DM me the other day, like trying to give me advice, but being super condescending. So like, I've tried to build this product before. You should do this. You should do this. You shouldn't do this. And I like blocked them. I was like, can you stop? Like, like stop telling me what to do. Like launch the same product then. I don't care. Like, like it's different if we know each other, but it's like, what? Like just because I'm a woman, I've been working in tech like for 6 years, you know what I mean? Like in startups. So it's like, I kind of like just want to give it a shot. But again, I don't think of it as a tech product, which is kind of funny.
This whole podcast is about how tech and life intermingle. And I think you're starting with the life and then seeing that, hey, there's a tech solution over here. And I think so often in our industry, we put the cart before the horse because it's easy to build something now. And technically inclined people kind of think about technically inclined solutions when so often it's like a human solution and you're using tech to bring people together. And so, yeah, I really want to see this idea succeed because it's a real problem. It's, it's a real problem. And like living in Toronto, it's like you can see the amount of stress that finding housing like imparts on people. Like in Mumbai, it's like the same thing. This is not just a problem confined to here. And I think if you can show that this is a solution to give more power to the people, to like give them a better negotiating hand, I think that there's so much to be gained from this. Like mental peace is just, it's an investment in itself.
Yeah, and I think it is a huge investment of our money. And I think sometimes people dismiss it because it's just rent money. And it's kind of like, well, no, it's 25 to 45% of your income, most likely. So you deserve to know what you're investing in before you sign a 1-year lease. I think it's honestly, it's just a bit ridiculous that that's how it is. And we have the technology literally to solve that problem. Like you said, information asymmetry. There are people on the internet who have lived in that building. There definitely are. No matter what building you're pointing at, they have access to the internet. Incentivizing people to leave a review is another question. But so far, the community aspect seems to be helping a lot.
Amazing. So, Emily, do you have any calls to action for my community? Because I'm sure once they hear this, there's a lot of people who are probably going through the same issues that you are solving over here. So, listeners from everywhere, but the problems are the same. So, what can they do to show that this idea is something that should be pursued? What can they do to help get the word out a little bit more? And how can they get involved with your process of building this?
Please go to rentgoblin.com, leave a review of a place you lived at. If they are interested in following along, I have TikTok and Twitter where I talk more about the project compared to Instagram is a little bit more of comedy content because that gets the most views on there, to be honest. But I would say if they follow along and if they have any ideas or want to chat, my DMs are open. And I'm thinking about bringing on some admins for the website. It's like adding on some people who want to, because basically it's like community source reviews, but sometimes people leave like silly reviews, like they're not real. You can tell it's like a joke because I have currently, in order to get the most reviews as possible, they don't have to create an account to leave a review. So if someone wants to be an admin, we could have chat. But yeah, I think just following along but thank you so much for having me on.
Thank you for coming on. If there's a community that you're building, if there's any waitlists or discords and stuff, I will share updates to the channels that we have over here. And any final words of wisdom for my audience? Anything that you'd like to leave them thinking about? Anything to get the gears moving ahead of, it's going to be a 2-week break until the next episode. So make it profound.
Think not what your community can buy from you, but what you can give to your community. There you go.
Thank you so much, Emily, for joining. Emily's socials will be in the description of this episode, as will the Rent Goblin site. So make sure you're following her across all these platforms where you are active. If you like this episode, why not give it a like and share? And if you know someone in Vancouver who's on the house hunt, I think this episode will be a godsend to them. So please share, like and support the channel and support all of Emily's distribution channels as well. This is Marv and Emily signing off from season 2 of Is This the New Internet? You take care and we'll catch you very soon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks so much for listening. I appreciate all ratings, thumbs up, shares on whichever platform that you're listening to this. Don't forget to subscribe if you're on YouTube. Those subscriptions really, really help with the visibility of my channel. If you like this, then I think you're going to love my Substack because I get into more detail on things. I try to publish as frequently as I can because there's just so much happening online. I won't promise to have all the answers, but what I can do is promise that I can show you the journey that we're going on so you can reach your own conclusions. There's plenty more episodes where this came from, so enjoy. Catch you on the next one. Cheers.